Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. I'm delighted to be joined by Elliot Grigg as we are looking ahead now, I suppose, to what's next for Josh Taylor. Obviously, Josh Taylor recently fought Teofimo Lopez for the WBO super lightweight title there on June 10th at Madison Square Garden, New York. And, he was the favourite going into the fight, hadn't fought in 15 months, obviously, since that contentious Catterall win, I suppose. But everyone thought that, I think the vast majority of people thought, I know you and I, Elliot, certainly thought that Josh Taylor, he had that eye of the tiger back and looked like he was gonna do a bit of a job on Teofimo Lopez, especially after what we'd seen from Lopez recently. So since his, win over Lomachenko, he's been poor since then. So came as a massive shock to me that Lopez won. And he won well in the end. I think the scorecards were closer maybe than the actual fight was. And yeah, I suppose that coming back to you now, Elliot, it's just what really, if you're Josh Taylor, what do you want? If you're Josh Taylor's number one fan, what do you want him to do next? Is it first and foremost, what did you make of his performance? And secondly, are his days at super lightweight done? Or do you still think he can rematch with Lopez? What do you think?
Oh, I mean, it's important for me to say earlier that I'm not Josh Taylor's number one fan, but I'm going to be objective here and say that I was shocked. You and I were both shocked. I was stunned actually. I thought I had Taylor stoppage on this late round stoppage. Was shocked the way it unfolded. As with many other people, he looked great beforehand. Looked like he did have that motivation, like you say, that I had a tiger back. So to see the way it ended, yeah, I'm shocked. What's next in the way? Do I want to see I wouldn't want to see the rematch. I'll tell you that for starters. I don't think there should be a rematch. I would like to see Lopez fight other people if he does fight. I know there's been a lot of noise around him wanting 100 million or whatever it is, but if he does fight, I don't want to see him fight Taylor again. Taylor, I'd like to see potentially. Right, his days at super light. Yeah, I think his days down at super lightweight are done, frankly. But I think I wouldn't mind seeing him rematch Catterall, whether that's a super lightweight, whether they both move up to welterweight and have to fight there, or have it of a catch weight. I don't mind. But yeah, I don't think his future lies at super lightweight. I know every single time he fights down there, it seems to be his last time before he moves up. Doesn't seem to move up. So just he's been talking about. I think he was talking about moving up, wasn't he? Even after the Gray fight, around that sort of time, hasn't happened. So I think it is time that it does happen. But yeah, to be honest with you, unless there's any other super fight down there for him, but I don't necessarily think there is now. So the Catterall rematch down there, or catch weight, or move up, frankly. But I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute. The perils that could happen when he does move up.
Yeah, no, I think I have to agree with you there, mate. I think it's interesting what you said about, there's been talk of Josh Taylor moving up for nearly 5 years, I'd say. Honestly, as you said, since about the Pro Grey fight, yeah, since the World Boxing Super Series, you're thinking he's huge. Like, he is huge. Obviously, he's not old by any stretch, but as you're getting older as well, into your 30s, you're like, how does he make 140 pounds? Like, his frame is huge. Even those photos he was putting up on Twitter and Instagram or whatever, few days out from the fight, and he obviously ended up making the weight well, but he was enormous. He was massive. He's clear, and like even on fight night, walking to the ring, like obviously Lopez isn't no slouch. He's quite a big. I don't really know how he made lightweight, to be honest with you. But then Taylor is on a completely different level. He looked like a super middleweight going in there. Honestly, he did. So I think a move to welterweight is inevitable. And if I'm Josh Taylor, yes, you've just got lost for the first time. Obviously, your instinct will be, you know what, I'll do another one at 140. I want the rematch with Lopez. But I don't think that fight would necessarily do any good for him because, yes, I was being rash pre-fight that he was going to knock him out and all, but now watching that fight, I just think that Taylor, even if he did make the weight well, I just don't want to see him fight at 140 again. So you know what? Mate? You were undisputed at that weight. Just move up to welterweight and try it all there again. Yes, obviously welterweight's a stacked division. We can talk about some fighters next, but for me, I'm just like, just leave it behind. For now, just leave it behind. Go up to 147. Have one fight there, maybe before the end of the year, I'd say. One fight there against the, fringe top 10 kind of guy. And then bang, you're going to be in line for some world titles because you're still a big name. You're a former undisputed champion. And, you'll get a good ranking in the governing body straight away. So, yeah, for me, it has to be welterweight. I don't know about you, Eldit. Has to be.
I've lost you then, Paul. I'm sorry. Say again.
It has to be a move up there welterweight, doesn't it? Next.
It has to be moved up to welterweight, and but then no, it does. It does. To be honest with you, I think the way you've mapped it out, I actually would agree with you. I would fight someone like you say, like a fringe level sort of guy around the sort of top 10. But then I suppose the issue that I would have with him moving up in general is, well, obviously the champions in that division. Remember, there was talk about him fighting Terence Crawford at one point. I wouldn't want to see that necessarily now. Even like your likes of Spence, and I mean, obviously Spence has talked about moving up himself, hasn't he, out that division? But then you're looking at like even guys like I suppose Ortiz Jr. or like Ugas. Would I want to see him fight those guys? Would I think he prevail against those guys? I think he needs almost in a way to sort of fight maybe a fringe level guy, maybe even try and settle for some like big domestic fight, maybe around that kind of division, and just sort of do that for a bit. I would rather than sort of leap into world title action with the champions in that division, because I just don't think he's going to his power necessarily what he does have would translate there either. So you're looking maybe to sort of outpoint people, but I think he obviously would get caught. He got caught a few times, didn't he, on Saturday, but actually, to be fair to him, did ride those shots quite well. So I don't think from a sort of chin test perspective, he actually came through it quite well actually against Lopez, to be perfectly honest. But again, if he was fighting one of those guys like Crawford, would that happen? Potentially not. So I think if I was mapping out maybe the next 2 years, the next 18 months for him, I'd say maybe fringe level guys around there, sit in a holding pen, see what happens with Crawford and Spence, see if they move up, see if you can maybe get a belt without fighting one of those guys in that division, or if not, settle for some big money fights essentially with other guys around just sort of some domestic scene. What do you reckon? What do you reckon to that plan?
Yeah, mate, I think that's ideal. I think that you mentioned Crawford and Spence there, and fingers crossed that fight. I know it's been announced and all recently, but hopefully it just does happen. And then I think it's inevitable that both of them, even or maybe not both of them, but one of them will definitely move up. So some of those belts will become fragmented, and that's Taylor's opportunity for me. I've just come to my head. You mentioned Ugas. That's a good fight. I think
Mm.
obviously Ugas is coming off the defeat to Spence, but it was a credible defeat. I think that's a good fight. And another one that I've just thought of. You thought, you know what? Move up to welterweight. First fight, tough one, really tough one. But why not fight David Avanesian?
Yeah,
What about that? 'Cause he's just
yeah.
fought Terence Crawford as well. Do you know what I mean? He's just challenged for the world belt. So that, and he was obviously the long reigning European champion. Fighter like that, I think, is a perfect name really for Taylor, on his welterweight debut. What are your thoughts?
No, I think that's actually two names you mentioned there are actually good. I mean, I did mention you something before as potentially not wanting to be the first one, but I actually would like if you said out those guys are kind of ranked high up in that division. I would like to see that. I think maybe fight someone like you said, like an Evan Easton, but also then maybe work. If you can work maybe that fight in, then maybe work a kind of Catterall fight in at a catchweight or even up a welterweight. Do that. Sit in that holding pen for maybe the next couple of fights. Satisfy that kind of need that everyone seems to have for you to fight Josh Catterall. Jack Catterall is not going to go away, is it? So it's like at the end of the day, you're probably going to have to fight him at some point. So if you can kind of engineer it by making him move up, whatever, do that. I think would be a good plan. Maybe do that. Have those sort of next two fights, and then see how the land lies up at welterweight. But stay well away from Terence Crawford. Would be my advice. To stay well away from Errol Spence as well. Judging on what we're seeing at the moment from Josh Taylor. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Whether people were saying around sense of like lost years almost in a way in inactivity, whether that plays a part or whether it is simply the point if some guys peaking at different stages, and he's obviously been through some tough fights obviously to become undisputed in that division. For even Ramirez, tough fights that he had down there. Whether that's just taking a toll and whether we actually may not see that Josh Taylor again, or whether you think we can see that. I mean, that's something I'd be interested in knowing. Do you think Josh Taylor can sort of climb that mountain again and essentially be that kind of fighter we've seen, or do you reckon that those days are gone?
It's a really tough one. Like his rise up to world level, and then fights as soon as he became world champion. Like even your Postals, your Ranchits, and then you obviously mentioned your Prograis, and then obviously the Ramirez fight and all of those type of fights. That's an incredible run of fights. It was mental, and you're talking about Josh Taylor was a modern British kind of boxing great in a sense. Like achievement wise, it was incredible what he achieved in such a short period of time. I think that although he even made the weight or well there, I think a move up of half a stone, down at that weight, half a stone will, that'll make it a whole lot easier for him. I think you can maybe get a new lease of life at welterweight, which I'd love to see. And yeah, I think that I hope his best days aren't behind him because he's still 32, 33 or whatever he is. So there's a couple of years left, in my opinion, at that level. But I'd like to think that a move up to welterweight would kind of bring out more of the best in Taylor again. Just finally, Elliot, we don't want to dwell on this one for too long. We could talk about it for ages, but say Josh Taylor does move up to welterweight. has one or two fights and then fights fighter A. Not don't know who it could be. Can he become a world champion at welterweight? Do you think he has what it takes to be a two-weight world champion? Now, judging on what you've seen from the Lopez fight and what you think he has left.
Yes, I think he can because obviously, like you say, with the guys that he's beaten and the performances we've seen, if he can somehow get back to that, yes, potentially. Do I think he'll beat any of the guys that are champions there already? And that Crawford, Spence. Do I see him? No. Do I see him beating Jaron Ennis at the moment? No. Frankly, as well. So it would depend on how those sort of belts potentially move, as you know, as the guys sort of fight each other and potentially move up in weight. But I think, to be honest with you, if you look beneath that, yes, he can. Frankly, if he has a couple of fights, beds in at welterweight, is comfortable at the weight, I think he can actually become a champion down there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could see George Taylor as a two-weight world champion 100% in the not so distant future. Well, yeah, suppose that's all we've got time for today. Thanks very much for the chat. Enjoyed that one. Yes, what is George Taylor going to do next, guys? What do you think? Let us know in the comments what you think he might do. Do you think he has to have that Catterall rematch still at super lightweight? Do you think that Lopez will give him a rematch if he doesn't retire at 25 like he said he's doing? Do you think he goes up to welterweight? Could he even beat the likes of Crawford or Spence? Tell us your thoughts. The ups and comers, Virgil Ortiz, obviously Jaron Ennis, Conor Ben. How are those fights going to go in the future? Well, let us know your thoughts on that, guys. And yeah, as we always say, thanks for watching. And yeah, be sure to check out all the rest of the content on our channel with interviews and written previews, betting shows, big fight breakdowns, and weekly previews as well. But Elliot, thanks for joining me, mate. I enjoyed that one. All the best. See you soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you very much, guys, for watching.